Everyone ready?
Yep.
Good. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting for the town of Quispamsis for Tuesday, November 8th. Item number 2, can I have approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Kendall?
So moved.
Have a seconder on that? Okay, all in favor? Motion carried. Move on to item 3, disclosures of interest. Any? None being, we'll move on to item 4, approval of previous minutes. Is there any amendments to the previous minutes? None being, could I have a motion to approve? Mr. Bishop?
So moved.
Can I have a seconder on that? Brenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Can we have a vote on that, please? Motion carried, 5-0. Move on to item 5, business arising from previous minutes. Can I have a motion to receive and file, please? Brent?
So moved.
Seconder on that? Brenda?
I'll second that.
All right, can we have a vote on that, please? Motion carried. With that, we'll move on to item 6, unfinished business. Item 6A, that item's on hold until further notice from the applicant. So with that being, we'll move on to the new business. New business, item 7A. Get this up here. An application requesting approval to operate a dog training business, Mannered Mutts at 662 Canola Point Road, PID 00454058, as being similar to or compatible use to home-based business. Could the applicant come up the podium, please state your name for the record?
Olivia.
Okay, Olivia, we're going to have Jennifer. Jennifer's going to introduce that item for us. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Olivia is applying to operate a dog training business at 662 Gondola Point Road. And we would like you, committee, to look at this as similar to or compatible with a home-based business. The applicant is renting the space from landowners at 662 Gondola Point Road, and the landowners are in support of this application and have endorsed the application. The intent is to be able to provide small groups of 4 to 5 dogs with training, a positive reinforcement training, and the classes would run between 45 minutes to an hour. The applicant would also like to provide some incidental sales of dog treats, doggy toys, etc., that are and accessories from local small businesses. The original application also had a doggy daycare associated with it. However, during a review, staff felt that a rezoning would be more appropriate. So with that, Olivia decided to remove that portion from her business model and go forward with the training classes. So home occupation is looked at through section 6K of the zoning bylaw. And usually it's occurring in the home, but in this case, the applicant is asking for the activity to occur in an accessory building that used to be used as a kennel that is on the lot. She will be the only employee. Staff did a site visit, and there is ample parking on site for many cars. It could very easily be support the 4 or 5 cars, that's for sure. So the business that was there prior, the kennel, was actually operating under a non-conforming use, and the business was not in operation for longer than 10 months, and since that's occurred, it's no longer considered a non-conforming use, and we have to look at this as a brand new application for this lot. So Olivia did a little investigating because the staff report recommends that she get a kennel license. So contacted the New Brunswick SPCA, who advised her that they would not issue a kennel license if it didn't include breeding, dog breeding, or overnight boarding. So I called and confirmed that with them. So it's written in our bylaw that a kennel license would be required. It looks like our bylaw will need to be amended to have that adjusted to reflect for the boarding and the breeding only for the kennel license, that it wouldn't apply it for dog training. It's clear that the intent of the bylaw is to minimize impacts to neighbors, so the review of this was done through a home occupation as well as through the kennel section of the bylaw. Notices were sent to properties within 100 meters, and we did receive some concerns. A lot of the concerns from the original application were surrounding the dog training school, so I've just sort of teased out the remaining concerns because this would only be the training portion. And so, of course, there were concerns regarding increased traffic, noise, the barking of dogs, and odors, and the amount of time that the dogs will be outside and sort of permitted to make noise. And that's what I have for you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Olivia, you would have received the same package we did in the mail. Is there anything you'd like to add or discuss prior to questions from PAC or members of the public?
Wanted to make clear is that we're not doing the kenneling and we're not doing the doggy daycare, so it's very limited hours that we're looking at having the building used.
Okay, can you move that mic up a little tiny
Yeah.
bit? Okay, thank you.
Better.
All right, is there any questions for the applicant from PAC members? Brenda?
Just a quick one. I don't know much about dog training, but they would just be there for an hour at a time? Yeah. And then a different class coming in type of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, we don't run 2 classes, 3 classes a day by any means, but yeah, the puppy classes, are usually 45 minutes or so, but we'll schedule about an hour, so we've got time for them to leave and the next people to come in kind of thing. But yeah, they're about an hour each.
And you will be building a fenced-in area, or is that already there?
There's already a large fenced-in area.
Okay. So then you would be the person that keeps it clean?
Yeah.
Picks up?
Yeah, exactly. So there's an area behind where the classes are that would be used for the washrooms, everything like that. So there would be no dogs loose at any point.
Yeah, because I know one of the things I read was they were saying that when people pick up their dogs before, that they would not have them unleashed, so then they go do their business and then go home type of thing.
Yeah, I read previous complaints and it was the same thing, that there was dogs going on other lawns, which I'm not even, the driveway's quite long, so I'm not even sure why there'd be dogs off leash that far. But yeah, I read that as well. So the fenced in area, there's ample room back there.
So if you had a dog that you wanted to train that was like aggressive and you're trying to get it out of that phase, would they be with other dogs, or would that be an individual training?
So dog to dog aggression is all individual, and then dog to human aggression I usually do virtually because I don't really need to see the dog in person. So neither would likely be on site. If so, it would be a dog to dog aggression and they would be by themselves.
Could we have a class for dog owners?
I do want to do like enrichment seminars kind of thing. So yeah, enrichment, body language, all that good stuff that kind of gets overlooked.
And my concern, well, peeve, I walk a lot. A lot of people don't have their dogs on leash, and that's, well, they're friendly,
Yeah.
but maybe I don't like it.
Yeah, I saw complaints and it seems like by neighborhood, but yeah, it surprised me when I moved back home how many dogs are off leash.
And I mean, the rule is it's on leash, supposed to be, but no, they just wander. A lot of people do, but they see other dogs off leash and they think, well, I can do that too. So, and a lot of them don't know how to pick up off their dogs. So that's why I said maybe owner training. But anyway, that's my pet peeve.
Fair enough.
Anyway, thank you.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Brenda. Is there any other questions for the applicant from PAC? Is there anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? Is there anyone online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? Third and final time, is there anyone online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? None being, would a member of PAC like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions? Mr. Bishop.
I'll put a motion forward that PAC approve Maynard Mutts to operate doggy training classes at 662 Ganola Point Road, PID 00454058, as being similar to a home occupation, single, two-family residential R1 zone. It should be subject to the following terms and conditions. One, maximum of 4 dogs be permitted to be engaged at the business at one time. 2, the hours of operation not to be prior to 9 a.m. and shall cease before 8 p.m. Sunday through Saturday. 3, it shall be secondary to the main residential use of the dwelling. 4, not more than one person is engaged therein in addition to any permanent resident of the dwelling in which it is located. 5, no change except for the sign prudent to the town sign bylaw is made outside to the appearance of the building, which would indicate a home occupation is being conducted therein. 6, no goods or services other than those directly pertaining to home occupation are supplied or sold therein or therefrom. 7, not more than one commercial vehicle used in connection therewith, or not more than one vehicle of in kind bearing signs in connection therewith is parked on the lot which the dwelling unit is located. 8, 2 off-street parking spaces are provided in excess of those required under section 6P. 9, the activity does not involve the management or dispatching of more than one commercial vehicle. And 10, such other terms and conditions as the planning advisory committee determine appropriate and necessary, which there is none. So actually just the 10 items.
Thanks, Darren. Can I have a seconder on that? Mark?
Second.
Any debate on the motion? None being, can we have a vote, please? That motion's carried 5-0. In next 5 to 7 business days, you have a letter in the mail with your approval. Please work at the town to have all necessary paperwork and documentation in place, and best of luck with your endeavor. You're welcome. We'll move on to item 6B, an application requesting approval to construct an accessory building on a lot prior to the main dwelling. Amended to require foundation elevation at 329 Model Farm Road, PID 302-32797. Could the applicant please come up and state your name for the record, please?
Hello, I'm Davis Scryer.
James?
James Davis Scryer.
Oh,
yeah.
Davis. Yeah,
All right,
okay,
bye,
thank
Davis.
you. We're going to have Jennifer introduce that item for us.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Mr. Schreier is looking to erect an accessory building on the lot at 329 Model Farm Road. When his application first came in, we looked at the application and automatically thought, oh, an accessory building before a main dwelling, it needs to go to PAC. But as I was preparing for the staff report, it came to my attention that that is for lots 5,000 square meters or less. Mr. Schreier's lot is 9,250 square meters, so he actually does not require PAC's approval to build the accessory building ahead of the main dwelling. However, during our review, it was noted that the elevation of the structure will not be able to achieve the 1 meter above the center grade of the road. It will actually be quite far down because the lot abutting the road at Model Farm, then it goes down to the river, and of course it becomes quite a steep trajectory. Anyhow, so there's a bylaw says, the zoning bylaw 6F1 states that all new structures that the finished floor must be at least the 1 meter above the center grade of the road. Otherwise, it would require foundation elevation variance, which allows us to enter into a hold harmless agreement with the landowner. Notices were sent to property owners within 100 meters, and no concerns had been received, and staff have no further concerns at this time, other than staff may, or committee may wish to ask about the details when the house construction will take place. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Jennifer. Mr. Schreier, you would have received the same package we did in the mail. Is there anything you'd like to add or discuss prior to a few questions from PAC or members of the public?
No, not really. I did notice in the recommendations, I guess, there was something about the setback off the river. So I've called the Department of Environment. I'm about 56 meters from the river, and I went even a little higher. So they've told me 30 meters is the setback required. I did request that they send me an email, something in writing. They said they would at some point. Really hoping to get this built before snow. So I got that in process, so I'm hoping that's not a huge hang up for us. Other than that, yeah, that's about it.
All right, thank you. Any members of PAC have any questions for the applicant? Kendall?
Maybe you can answer the mysterious question about when the house will be constructed or the plans regarding construction.
Of a moving target over the last couple of years. So I don't know exactly. The idea is to get this built so I have a bit of a home base there for workshop, storage, that sort of thing. So I'm hoping in the next couple of years, I'd say when lumber prices came down, but I'd be waiting forever. But yes,
But the goal is to build a house.
The goal is to
in the
build a
future.
house. Yeah. Time and money, right? So young family and just trying
Sure.
to make it happen.
Thanks for answering.
Yeah.
Any other members of PAC have any questions for the, Brenda?
Just how big is the building that you're planning? for yours?
We're planning 20 by 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's be no water or sewage connected to that one?
No, at most there'd be a rain barrel, but not planning to have any sort of plumbing or anything in it. Potentially power at some point, and that's part of obviously getting building permits and going through the right channels. But that's to be determined, or probably next spring, hopefully. So.
Okay. Because if you're working in that building, you would need power for power.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of was toying with solar, but I think ultimately to run a proper shop, I'm going to want to drop probably 200 amps or at least 100 amp service into there. So I've talked with MB Power, and it's all possible, just a little bit of money, and yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Brenda. Any other questions for the applicant from PAC? None being, is there anyone online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? Is there anyone online or in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? Third and final time, is there anyone in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? None being, would a member of PAC like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions? Kendall?
I recommend that PAC approve a foundation elevation variance as per section 6F of the zoning bylaw number 038 to permit the construction of an accessory building for the purpose of a workshop and storage at 329 Model Farm Road, PID 30232797, subject to the following terms and conditions. Number one, the preparation of a hold harmless agreement be executed within 6 months of this approval. Number two, a letter from the Department of Environment be received by the town indicating there are no requirements for a watercourse and wetland alteration permit for the proposed waterfront development prior to the release of a building permit. Number three, the accessory building shall not be used for the purpose of a business, a dwelling unit, or for the keeping of livestock. Number four, the exterior finish is to be cladding recognized by the National Building Code of Canada, current adopted addition. And number 5, a building permit is issued prior to any construction.
Thank you, Kendall. Can I have a seconder on that? Mark?
Second.
Any debate on the motion? None being, can we have a vote, please? Oh, Dwight, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One item that I would maybe put forward to PAC to consider would be that the use of the building is for the purpose of a workshop and storage as relates to the construction of the main dwelling. And it should be recognized that it's, even though the main dwelling doesn't exist, it's incidental use for the main use of the property, which would be residential. My reasoning is so that it doesn't become a site for use and storage for things related to beach and the waterfront and all those types of things prior to the dwelling being constructed.
Thank you. Kendall, is that okay? Sure. Mark? Perfect. Is that okay? Everything good with there? Yeah. Can we have a vote on that, please? Motion carried. In 5 to 7 business days, you have a letter in the mail with your approval. Please work with the town to have all necessary paperwork and documentation in place. And if you get a copy of that email, just share from the environment, just share that with the town so they'll have that on record. All right, thank you. Best of luck. Thank you for your time. You're welcome. We'll move on to item 7C. Kennebecasis Regional Police Force Building Addition and Parking Lot Expansion, 126 Millennium Drive, PID 302-08094. Could the applicants please come up and state their name for the record, please?
I'm Bob McLaughlin. I'm past chair of the Police Commission and chair of the Building and Grounds Committee. And what we're here for is just for the parking lot. The building will come next spring.
Okay, perfect.
Jeff Gigi, I'm Deputy Chief with the Kennebecasis Regional Police Force.
Thank you. Dwight, you want to introduce that item to us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the application that is before the Planning Advisory Committee is an application for site plan review as it relates to the development scheme bylaw for Millennium Drive, where the property is located in the business park commercial zone. It's within the area that's covered under development scheme bylaw, which requires, it has a process in place whereby the application comes to the development officer. The development officer reviews the application, and when it's deemed that it is complete or at a stage where it can move forward, then there are a number of stakeholders that application must proceed through prior to the development officer rendering a decision. One of those stakeholders is the Planning Advisory Committee. In addition to the Planning Advisory Committee, it would be brought forward to council, which will be going at the next council meeting, as well as other stakeholders within the organization. So engineering, works, utility, as well as in this case, the fire department, just making sure it's not impacting anything with respect to accessing the building. They're given 14 days to respond with any comments or questions or concerns. If there's failure to respond within the 14-day period, then it's deemed that they are in favor of the application or don't have concerns with the application. At this stage, it's before PAC. PAC has up to 30 days to to provide recommendations to the development officer as part of the decision. It would be prudent that we would be ultimately having those, I think, at the next meeting in terms of what recommendations PAC might have, or if they wish to bring them forward during this meeting, that would be a decision of PAC, but they have up to 30 days to do so in accordance with the bylaw. This particular application is fairly straightforward in that it's simply an expansion of the parking lot, and as I've indicated in my staff report, the development scheme bylaw provides some 27 items in terms of review of applications that come forward under the business park commercial zone and those areas within the development scheme bylaw. The only item of really, that I've sort of indicated in my staff report is with respect to the location of the parking for staff, and then obviously civilian parking at the rear, or sort of at the side adjacent to the residential property, as it can be seen on the screen. And it was just sort of the removal of the existing vegetation, and there's some areas in there where some enhancements would be required. And earlier today, I believe there was an email, hopefully PAC members did receive it. It was an updated site plan that showed the enhancement to that buffer is basically a row of cedar edges planted 1 meter apart, which would be sufficient to provide screening in that particular case. So that particular item covered off several of the items within the review process. Other than that, it was fairly straightforward. The addition, when we look at the use of the addition, it's mainly for office space, which when you do the math in accordance with the bylaw, I think the number of additional parking spaces were like 4 or 5, which the plan here obviously exceeds that requirement. In terms of the addition, the building heights and all those types of things, based on the drawings that have been submitted, there's no variances required for that. As Mr. McLaughlin has indicated, at this stage, it's simply a focus on the site plan. From a planning perspective, we kind of look at all those elements as part of the package to make sure there are no variances that sort of need to be addressed earlier in the process, as well as to identify the total number of parking spaces that are required. The site plan that was in your package did not show the location of the solid waste receptacle. That has been identified on the plan. It's pretty much staying in the rear, sort of in a general location of where it is right now, just sliding to the back corner, which is sufficient. One of the items that I didn't allude to in my staff report, and I think it would be prudent just to bring it forward, is one of the items of the 27 is climate change and recognizing the needs to address those in any new development. So one of the things that is not included in this particular application and is not a requirement in terms of a bylaw requirement is looking at possibilities to bring forward, in this particular case, maybe charging stations for electric vehicles as part of this overall addition, and possibly looking at, you know, the installation of, and I know it's cost and all those types of things, but we always like to bring it forward, especially when we get into additions and retros and those types of things, looking at possibly some sort of solar panels or some additional ways of servicing the building. Again, that could be something that could be discussed or looked forward, but it's an excellent opportunity to introduce electric charging stations. I know there's opportunities out there. If not for future police vehicles, I don't know if that's something that's coming. But in terms of at least staff and those types of things, people who may have electric vehicles. So other than that, from a planning perspective, I think that about covers it. The other item was with respect to, it is located within Zone C of the wellfield protection. It's my understanding that stuff has been submitted to the province for review. At this particular time, from a planning perspective, I don't anticipate any significant items or recommendations of concern, given that it's, you know, everybody's dealing with a parking lot expansion ultimately. So with that, I will sort of conclude my intro, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Dwight. Mr. McLaughlin and Mr. Gigi, you would receive the same package we did in the mail. Is there anything you'd like to add or discuss prior to members of PAC asking you questions or the public?
The charging stations, we're gonna look at that when they do the building. It's budget thing right now. We just
Yeah.
wanna get the parking done because we get staff parking everywhere right now. So that's the issue that we're trying to deal with right now.
Okay.
So, but I know that's on her, and I kind of mentioned Dwight, that's not on this one, but it is later on.
That may come with the building.
Yep.
Thanks. Any members of PAC have any questions for the applicant? None being, is there anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? Is there anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? Third and final time, is there anyone in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? None being, would a member of PAC like to put a motion for with some comments, vote for or against with some comments for the development officer? There's no real motion, right? No real variance here. We're just providing comments back to yourself, Dwight, correct?
That, it would be correct, and then, planning advisory committee, like I've said, according to the bylaw, they have 30 days to provide comments back to the development officer prior to rendering a decision. And those comments can include, you know, the standard, ensuring there's proper stormwater management, ensuring that it's, you know, hard surface in accordance with the bylaw, which is all covered in the package and is meeting the requirements of the bylaw. So if planning advisory committee, if they don't see any concerns or anything that they would see as important with respect to the concerns that have been addressed, ultimately the one that I've highlighted obviously has been appears to be addressed with the revised site plan, making sure there's adequate screening and buffering, which appears to be addressed, as I said, in the new plan. PC ultimately can say they can support the decision and in keeping with the standard terms and conditions of the development scheme bylaw.
Yeah, you're happy with the updated plan with the vegetation, like you said, and
Yep, absolutely.
and the location of the solid waste plus the stormwater plan. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Mr. Bishop?
I'll put a motion forward that PAC support the proposed plan.
Seconder on that, Mark?
Second.
Any debate on that motion? Brent?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing we should change is make reference to today's date on the plan. Like, we got a revised plan today, and there was a plan in the presentations. What I'm saying is, in the motion, make sure we reference today's updated plan, that's all.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good take, just and that it satisfies the requirements of the development officer. Is that okay?
Sure.
Perfect. Mr. Bishop?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, good. Any further debate? Can we have a vote on that, please? Motion carried. 5 to 7 business days. You have a letter in the mail. Please work with the town. Have all necessary paperwork and documentation in place, and best of luck with the expansion.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, thanks a lot.
Okay, we'll go on to item 7D. Second referral to PAC, area Andrew Dunn's rezoning application, 169 Vincent Road, PID 00248-518, R1 to R2, proposed development of 4-unit terrace dwellings, total 16 units. The applicant, please come up to the podium, state your name for the record, please. Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Jennifer, you want to introduce this item for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So under a second review, it was noted that a 43.6 meter lot width variance is also required to allow the proposed 16 unit development to proceed as presented. We've already, in September 23rd, PAC reviewed this and granted a 7.5 meter variance to the front yard setback. And as I said, under careful review, it was noted that this lot width is required. The calculation is done by taking the first 40.5 meters and then multiplying 7.5 by the number of units over 3, and adding that all together. So when we do that, we get 138 meters, and what's available is 94.6 meters. This does represent 31%, which does seem a bit excessive or bordering on excessive. However, lot frontages, widths, and depths provide us a guide. If we take what's required for the lot width and the lot frontage, that gives us the area that's required. This lot does have well over what's required for this development. The lot has over 10,000 square meters. When you do the calculation to find out what the area required for this size development, it comes out to 5,250 square meters. So there's enough land available is what I'm trying to get at. There's more than enough land for the development. It's just that the lot frontage isn't reflective of that. So this was brought to the attention of council at the last meeting, and concerns were also brought forward to council regarding stormwater management pond, and staff did have concerns about the hydrogeological study should be required, etc. So the council did provide us with another motion that's asking PAC to consider the second variance and to consider, there's also, a concern of one of the residents from 9 Carmack Court suggested an adjustment of the building, and so council would also like committee to recommend that the developers sit with the people of 9 Carmack Court and discuss if that adjustment is possible. So all of that to say that staff recommend that we proceed with the lot width variance and to support council in requesting a hydrogeological water study, a comprehensive one, and a comprehensive stormwater management plan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mr. Dunn, you would have received the same package we did in the mail. Is there anything you'd like to add or discuss prior to any questions from PAC or the members of the public?
Just curious what a comprehensive hydrological water study and stormwater study is.
Dwight?
So a comprehensive hydrogeologic study is basically where you drill 2 wells, and then you use one as a pumping well and one's a monitoring well. It's pumped for 24 hours minimum. It's based on the actual size of the development. The guidelines from the province indicate set forth what those requirements are when doing the pump test. It's based on a number of units, based on a number of bedrooms. 450 liters per day per bedroom will give you what the ultimate water usage would be, and then that generates how long you have to pump for. Normally, if we were to look at this from a subdivision perspective, if it was 16 single-family residential lots, you would be into an abbreviated. The council has the authority under the bylaw, zoning bylaw, to request comprehensive studies when you get into rezonings for higher density development. So even though you're looking at saying, well, it's 16 units, in this particular case, it's you're increasing the density of the development in this particular lot. It's about 4 units per acre on 4 acres. So council has the authority to request comprehensive water studies as a condition of looking at rezoning and granting approval. Comprehensive stormwater management plan looks at 1 in 100 year plus 20% rain events and what impacts the flows would have coming off that lot. Ultimately looking at if there's downstream impacts, and then if the volumes and the velocities of flow exceed the typical pre-development flows coming off the lot, then you have to introduce stormwater ponds to hold back and release the water at a rate that would be equal to or better than your flows coming off pre-development. As been demonstrated and shown on the screen, there's been some just very high level, looking at, obviously a pond would be required. Where that pond is placed is relative to an existing wetland and wetland buffer. It's actually outside of those elements, so it's been placed so you're not into the wetland or buffer. There may be some room to adjust it, so that's what council is requesting, is that we look at possibly some just slight shifts to pull the pond further away from the residential properties, as well as to pull the buildings slightly away further to increase the buffer and retain any existing vegetation. So something to explore. There was several iterations of this that went back and forth. Ultimately, this was the most best use of the land. The thing to keep in mind, the street is private, so you have to maintain a minimum of a 6 meter wide driving surface. And I believe that's what's been submitted. And but there may be some room to shift slightly. So that's what the comprehensive hydrogeological study is, and the comprehensive stormwater management plan is.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. Is that okay, Mr. Dunn?
Yep.
Any members of PAC have any questions for the applicant? Brenda?
Most of the question is mostly for Dwight. If that water study is done and shows that there's lots and lots of water there, could he extend that to put more buildings on that lot? Sometimes you don't like to shoot yourself in the foot.
I can give you a very high level professional simple answer, and then I can give you a long-winded explanation. The simple professional answer is no. The long answer is, when we did the last municipal plan, part of the goal of the plan was to start looking at densification. So to guide us through that process, what we did was we looked at what rezonings have occurred in terms of density increases that council has been comfortable with, that the public, the citizens have been comfortable with, that has demonstrated it works in our municipality, given the infrastructure that we have in place in terms of water servicing. What that magic number came out to be was about 4 to 5 units per acre. So we've been using that as a guide for a lot of these developments. When you get into water service, we've taken that up to about 25 units per acre, which is what you're seeing on the developments on Hampton Road, as well as, I believe, the ones in Millennium Drive. So that's sort of the guide that we've been using in terms of water service. When we look at this magic number, apply it here, you have approximately 4 acres, 4 units per acre, gives us the magic number of 16, which is being proposed. So that's both my long-winded and simple professional answer of no.
Thanks, Dwight. Any other questions for the applicant? Mr. Goslin?
Yeah, Mr. Dunn, have you had a chance to talk to the landowner at 9 Carmack to see if you can reposition the plan of the building that you have, or you haven't had a chance yet?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay, so Dwight, then what happened if the owner of 9 Carmack and Mr. Dunn don't come to an agreement? Is the plan, what happened? What's the next step, I guess?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we always default back to what are the requirements of the bylaw. So provided a development meets the requirements, the minimum requirements of the bylaw, and that's what the bylaw establishes in these particular cases, is minimum requirements. So in this particular case, provided the building is minimum 6 meters away from the property line, and that includes a minimum of a 3 meter buffer, which can have enhancements. So if there's certain places where you need to do fencing or planting of trees or whatever, as long as you can meet those requirements, then it moves forward.
Thank you.
So Dwight, before you hang up there, I'm not sure, I kind of don't understand what they're asking, because they're saying there's only 7.9, but there's, on the plan, it says right now it's 6 point something, am I mistaken? From the property line, 6.75, does that make sense? Am I reading that right?
They received notification through the rezoning process. They appeared before council and they presented their concerns.
Yeah.
So their position, to my understanding, was that they weren't opposed to the development, it's just that they had some concerns, and they wanted those concerns sort of just given some more detail or attention to review possible slight changes to increase the buffer. Their other concern was there's existing vegetation, and once you get into the construction part and you start clearing, sometimes those existing trees, the bigger trees or whatever, they die. So all of a sudden now you're losing that existing vegetation. So they wanted to explore if the building can be even slightly shift to protect the existing vegetation. And if that was possible, great. If not, then making sure there's enhancements to provide that level of buffering that's required.
Okay,
So it was, so council, because we were coming back to Planning Advisory Committee, council made a motion that would be reviewed by the Planning Advisory Committee, and those concerns would have at least an opportunity to be reviewed a little further before council would render a decision on the rezoning application.
Yeah, in that customer's letter though, it says there is only a 7.59 buffer zone. I don't understand where that's coming from in the drawing. It says 6.75. Am I missing something?
I think that was to the building itself,
Okay.
to separation to the building at one point.
The separation between the buildings?
From the property line to the corner of the building, closest
No, it
corner.
says on the plan 6.75. I believe, if we look at the drawings that were sent to us, I'm looking at page 2 of that drawing, down that far corner, I think it's 6.75 meters. Is it an old drawing? Okay.
Ms. Jarvis has just informed me that she believes that you may have the older drawings.
Really? Okay, maybe I do. Is there another plan that I'm missing? Could be, I'm looking.
In any event, Mr. Chair, we would
So
look.
it is
we-
7
we-
point, okay.
We would
So-
look at.
All right, so we can just make, in our recommendation, recommend that Mr. Dunn have a look at that. So, okay, perfect. Any other questions for the applicant from PAC? None being, is there anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? Is there anyone in the audience or online willing to speak for or against this item? Third and final time, is there anyone in the audience willing to speak for or against this item? None being, would a member of PAC like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions, please? Mark?
Mr. Chairman, I'll put a motion forward that the Planning Advisory Committee approve the 43.4 meter variance to section 9B1 of zoning bylaw number 038 to permit a lot width of 94.6 meter, lot width of at 169 Vincent Road, PID number 00248518, with the following terms and conditions. A comprehensive hydrogeological study be completed ensuring that there is enough water available to support the proposed development prior to the issuance of a building permit. Number 2, a comprehensive stormwater management study be undertaken ensuring a stormwater management of the lot is a net zero pre and post rain event prior to the issuance of a building permit. Number 3, the developer and their development consultant meet with the landowner in 9 Carmack to discuss the potential of repositioning the proposed building abutting the property. And number 4, all conditions of the Planning Advisory Committee approval dated and signed on October 16, 2022 remain in effect.
Thank you, Mark. Can I have a seconder on that? Mr. Bishop?
I'll second that.
Thank you. On the motion, any debate on the motion? None being, can we have a vote on that, please?
Yes, in favor.
Motion carried unanimously. Mr. Dunn, you'll have a letter in the mail in your next 5 to 7 business days. Please work with the town, have all necessary paperwork, and maybe take a look at that customer's comments and talk to the neighbors and see if you can come to a compromise there and work with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to item 7E. Application to subdivide a portion of 35 Menstrual Drive, PID 302-41103 in favor of 31 Menstrual Drive, PID 302-40949. Jennifer, introduce this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so 31 Minstrel Drive had approached the town a year and a half ago or so and requested that we sell them a portion of 35 Minstrel, which the town does own. So we looked at it and we sent around to the departments, showed them sort of the subdivision plan, what it was looking like, and the Departments of Community Services found that there was value in the lot, and therefore we determined that the town was not open to sell. So the owners of 31 Minstrel had their lot surveyed because they wanted to put a fence in, and it was at that time that they noticed that the wellhead was not actually within their lot lines. It's actually on 35 Minstrel, which belongs to the town. So they have submitted a tentative plan identifying 43 square meters to be subdivided off of 35 Minstrel Drive in favor of 31 Minstrel Drive to make sure that the wellhead is within their property boundary. I can tell you that the 43 square meters will reduce the parent parcel to 4,556 square meters and will increase the 31 Minstrel to 1,576 square meters. And that's really all I have to report on that. I'm open to any questions anyone has, but staff have no concerns at this point, just that the wellhead may be on the right property. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone have any questions for Jennifer? Brenda?
Quick question. It looked like somebody had been doing some infill beside that house. Is that the house owner that there's dirt? Did they do that, hoping to put a garage in there, or do we know how long that existed?
Jennifer?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Pardon me. The previous homeowner actually had a garage on that lot. A shed, sorry, not a garage, a shed. It was an accessory building. And when she went to sell, realized that that wasn't on her property, I believe is how the story goes, and she had to have it removed. And so that's the story. It wasn't done, it was done by the previous owners, not by these ones.
Technically, the town is supplying the water to that house too. We could build them.
Got anything, Dwight?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one item to add, in terms of the request, obviously this would be a transfer of land, so there would be a purchase of land, which means there would be a purchase and sale agreement put in place. The land has been appraised, so we do have a value of the land that would be applied against that portion that's being considered for transfer. Obviously, we're going through, we have a surplus lands policy, as PEC members will be aware. In this particular case, the land, as Jennifer's mentioned, has not been identified as being surplus. However, we are applying the same steps and procedures that policy provides us as we go through this particular request. So just sort of a point of note, it has been appraised and there is a value that would be used, applied to that portion.
Thank you, Dwight. A member of PAC like to put a motion for or against with terms and conditions, please? Brent?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion PAC support the development officer in approval of subdivision subject to the following conditions. 1, all fees associated with the subdivision of 35 Minstrel Drive, PID 302-41103, for a lot line adjustment for the sole responsibility of Mr. and Mrs. Hazak. The property owners are 31 Minstrel Drive, PID 302-40949, and 2, price to determine using the town's surplus land policy.
Thank you, Brent. Can I have a seconder on that? Mark?
Second.
Any debate on the motion? None being, can we please have a vote? Motion carried unanimously. We'll move on to item 8, information and items or discussion items. Council minutes and council budgeting minutes. Can I have a motion to receive and file, please? Brenda?
So moved.
Seconder on that? Kendall?
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion carried. Can we have a vote on that? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9, adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Bishop?
So moved.
Can I have a seconder on that? Mr. Goslin?
Second.